Mr. Anderson.
Chegou a baixa.
morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Clap your hands, clap, clap, clap. Stomp your feet, stomp, stomp, stomp. Spin around, spin, spin, spin. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. your hands, wash, wash, wash. Shake your hands, shake, shake, shake. Brush your teeth, brush, brush, brush. All right. Good morning.
I don't speak pineapple, woo! That doesn't count because I literally caught that right away. So, okay, fine. Let me get a hashtag professional in the chat. God damn it. Shit. Hey! Hey! You're fired! Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Yeah, that falls under the 5-second rule, so that doesn't count.
That's right. That's right. Good morning, BVD.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning show with BVD and Uncle Lou. Yeah, that's right. It's me and BVD live for you on YouTube this morning. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Guess what? We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around 8 a.m. or so. This week we've done it all 5 days. We'll figure out next week sometime over the weekend and let you know. Yeah, that's what we'll go ahead and do. But thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget about Uncle Lou After Dark, the nighttime show here on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. And BVD has a nighttime show every other day at 8. Almost every other day. Not Saturday. Not Saturday, though.
Saturdays are reserved for college. Yeah, Saturdays are reserved.
Right. Just the Lord's Day.
Yeah, it's the Sabbath, isn't it?
Yeah, on the 6th day, Lou and BVD rested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the 6th day, they watched Tiger Kings all night long.
Oh man, I can't wait to ask you about that too, which we're going to do momentarily. Momentarily in that. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in this morning. Bad Dog, Snake Spence, Celine Driver, Big Dog, RB Smarta. Bears, Cubs, Canes, Mr. Anderson. Morning, sir. Killer Mime, good to see you in here, sir. Dago and that. I wonder if, do you think Bad Dog is offended by Dago's screen name? I kind of hope he is. Hey, you talking? Bad Dog's watching this right now, and every time Dago types something, hey, talking to me?
Hey, see, you talking to me?
Yeah, I can't do that like right now, but Bad Dog's doing it right now, and it probably sounds amazing. You know, it sounds like the real deal. But who's this Dago? You talking to me?
You mook.
Yeah, mook. Oh man, appreciate all you guys tuning in. I found some news this morning, BVD, not necessarily college football related, but I think some news that we can use to maybe try to predict what might happen with college football. But some of the professional leagues are starting to at least announce their tentative plans, like what they would like to do. Now the NBA a while ago said they're not doing anything till mid-June. So we've known that for a while. But the NFL came out. BVD, are you wiping your nose with your phone?
No, sorry, I was walking across the room to turn the TV down. It's Tennessee Day on the SEC.
All right.
So I get to watch victories all day long. So that's huge.
Okay.
It's a rare day.
All right. Let us know when you're done. We'll get started with the show.
By all means, go right ahead.
Okay, great. Uh, the NFL went ahead and announced yesterday, and by the NFL I mean Roger Goodell. We talked about this the other day. He's sole proprietor of the NFL, but he went ahead and announced they are going to do the draft on the days that they were scheduled. There just won't be anybody there. So that's it. The NFL draft is going on April 23rd to 25th as previously planned. No crowd. The shots, you know how there's usually 20 or 30 players that show up at the draft and they show them sitting there like waiting to get drafted. None of that. They're not allowed to come. It's but the draft is going on April 23rd through 25th, and shocker, the teams are not happy with Roger Goodell. They wanted to push the draft back. It not necessarily because they want to have a bunch of fans there like normal or whatever. The reasoning the teams are given is they haven't had time over the last couple of weeks because of the various shutdowns and things like that to interview players, conduct personal physicals with players, the whole turn your head and cough routine. You know what I'm talking about. So anyway, they wanted the draft pushed back. Roger Goodell says, no, not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture, is what he said. So the draft is going to go on April 23rd to 25th. They haven't said what might happen after that in terms of mini camps or anything like that, but the draft is going to go on as scheduled on the date scheduled, 23rd to 25th. Major League Baseball, of course, was supposed to start yesterday. BVD, did you know that? I know you're a huge Major League Baseball fan.
Yeah, and it's always late March.
Yeah, yesterday was supposed to be opening day.
Didn't it used to always be like 1st of April or something?
I ain't got no idea.
That's back when I used to care.
Yeah, but it was supposed to start yesterday. Of course, didn't start, postponed indefinitely. They issued a statement yesterday saying their goal as of now, and none of this is set in stone. We don't really know what's going to happen with this virus thing over the next month or so, but their plan right now is to allow teams to start training camp in mid-May and for games to start in early June. So that's the plan for baseball as of now, start in early June. So, projecting that towards college football, I sure do hope Major League Baseball gets to start when they're planning to, because that would be good news for college football. I think, like we talked about yesterday, July 4th is sort of the date you hear a lot of people talking about with college football. They've got to start back up by July 4th, just about at the latest, if you want the season to start on time and go on as planned. So let's keep our fingers crossed that this works out for Major League Baseball. That would be a good sign. The U.S. Open, BVD, postponed. So that's now the first 2 golf majors of the year are not going to happen. Masters, of course, is supposed to be next week or week after next. It's already
Didn't
postponed.
I read or hear somewhere that they're going to do the Masters later on, though?
I highly doubt you read it. Let's just be real.
He's got jokes early in the morning.
But you probably heard that, because, yes, that is the plan for the Masters. Is postponed.
I read
June,
much better
October,
than I hear, sir.
Right. The U.S. Open, which is supposed to be in June, has been postponed, but it was scheduled to be in New York. So it's right now one of the most hardest hit states. So I guess that sort of makes sense, even though that's still a few months away. You're like, why would they postpone that already? New York's going to be dealing with this for worse and probably for a longer period of time than a lot of other places are. They still plan on playing the U.S. Open at the same place, but it has been postponed. It will not be played in June. What else? NBA already said they're not starting until mid-June. They announced that a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything different on that. But when I logged in to ESPN's homepage this morning, they had these updates on the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the U.S. Open, so I thought I would share it with you guys in case you haven't heard yet. Again, I know we're not here to talk about the NFL, Major League Baseball, or golf in the U.S. Open, but when we're trying to project what might happen with college football, keeping an eye on what some of these professional leagues are doing might serve as a good indication as to where college football might be headed.
So we've been without sports for, I guess, couple of weeks now. Would you take an NBA game right now, Lou, or are you good without it?
To be honest, I'd I guess it's impossible to say. I typically don't watch the NBA this time of year. Like right now, I would be watching March Madness this weekend.
Well, yeah, sure.
So, would I, if everything was canceled except a regular season NBA game at the end of March, would I watch it? Probably not. I'm just going to be honest. I am a sports fan, but come on, a regular season basketball game.
Yeah.
Now, if Bad Dog was calling the game, I would watch Bad Dog. Does that count?
That counts. I found myself.
Oh,
at
well,
4
then mark me down as a yes. Then for that, yeah. And I got
found myself at 4 a.m. watching the first 5 minutes of some kind of soccer game called football.
Yes. Yeah.
They actually scored 2 goals in the first 5 minutes. I don't know what the hell they were doing.
Must have been playing some of that no goalie soccer.
I don't even remember the name of the teams, but those fans sure were into it.
What fans?
Hey, those Germans are crazy about their football now.
Oh, this must have been a rerun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't say live.
Okay, yeah, because they're playing with no fans over there now. And some bad news for all Division I NCAA sports programs came out yesterday. Some really bad news. Now, this is worse news for some than it is others. The NCAA pays out its money or whatever to the schools at set points during the year. One of those payments was scheduled to come up soon. The NCAA planned on paying out $600 million, not to each school, split up amongst the Division I schools. Due to all the cancellations, mainly the loss of all the TV money from March Madness, instead of having $600 million to split for this payment between all the member institutions, Division I, the amount that they are able to split is $225 million, so less than half. And again, that's not per school, so don't be thinking, oh, we poor schools can't get by on $225 million. No, that's split amongst every Division I school. So less than half of what they were planning on getting. And even to do that, even to pay out the $225 million, they had to, the NCAA had to dip into its cash reserves, and they also have an insurance policy. This is just weird. I guess you really can't get insurance on anything. But it said the NCAA actually has a $275 million insurance policy that pays out in the event some major, in the off chance that some major event gets canceled that costs the NCAA a ton of money, which March Madness. So that paid out, but they're actually keeping that money. It's not a part of this $225 million, but so they're keeping that $275 million for the next payout that is expected to be much lower than what they thought it would be as well. So, some of these smaller schools are going to have a hard time financially, I think, next academic year, missing out on some of this money. And we've all heard the rumors about there possibly being no non-conference games for college football this year. And one of the reasons, and I know a lot of college football players, especially like Big Ten fans, I hear this from a lot. I can't believe these SEC teams playing Troy and Louisiana Monroe and, all this kind of stuff. Those games set those other schools up for the rest of the year financially, those payouts that, it's one of these small schools comes to Alabama to get a beating. Alabama pays them whatever they pay them, $1 million, whatever it is, a couple of $1 million, take the beating. Those schools really need that money. So if you do away with the non-con games, now the NCAA's got less than half of what they were expected to pay out. It could be rough for some of these smaller schools over the next year.
Yeah, Georgia State won't be getting their big check from Tennessee this year. Of course, they wouldn't be getting it anyway.
True that.
Since you mentioned that about the 200 and whatever million it is that these Division One schools will be getting. I guess that means they won't be needing Sports Live and the ATL $63 check he was bragging about in his refrigerator yesterday.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you saw that too, huh?
Yeah. Well, the guy's bragging because he had like $260 in $20 bills spread out on his counter and a paycheck for $63.
There was another video too. I don't know if you saw it where he was fanning out like $400 or $500 or something. I don't get it.
Imagine cashing a 2-week paycheck just so you can spread out $450 in front of strangers on YouTube. Anyway, what else?
Have you done your Sleet a shout out video yet this week?
Yeah, you didn't see it?
Nah, I must admit, and that's right. I don't watch you. That's right. Never mind.
I like that he said too. It's not good enough to him either if you just happen to shout him out during a live video. No, because that gets lost. He says he needs you to make a video just about his shout out.
You know what?
What a clown, man!
I've really tried. I really have. I've even made a shout out video. Now apparently two somebodies have used Sports Live in the ATL copyrighted content, and he's upset about it, and he's going to let them know about it.
Well, did he mention that yesterday too?
It was in another video.
Okay.
I
saw a video about a month ago that he made complaining about that, and I went ahead and told him, sir, I've used you probably a dozen times in the last 30 days as entertainment for my audience because you're such a clown. Come at me, bro. I mean, that's basically what I told her. There's nothing he can do about that. That's fair use.
Yeah, I tried explaining. I think several people in the comments after I left my comment mentioned fair use to him.
Yeah, you can't. He's such a clown.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Back to this money situation with some of these schools. So Congress has passed 2 or 3 different stimulus bills already. Of course, Wall Street was first in line. I mean, they got their $1.5 trillion like pretty much like the first day the stock market went down big. That oh no, like, here's a blank check. They gave Wall Street $1.5 trillion. And then they did another bill that included things like free coronavirus testing and different medical related things. And then, of course, the third one that passed the Senate a couple of days ago, the House is voting on it today, which is the stimulus check for people and businesses. I wonder if some of these universities really get hurt this bad financially from this thing. I wonder if they will start holding their hand out, waiting for their piece of the pie from Uncle Sam. You think there's any chance some of these universities could be included in a quote unquote bailout or stimulus package from the government? BBD.
I've wondered about
what
that.
Say you? I haven't heard that mentioned
about that
yet.
myself.
I haven't heard that mentioned yet at all. But now you would think like some of these bigger schools could survive. You would assume and think. But but I don't know if you just can assume that because look at your huge corporations in America. Apparently they can't survive. I mean the airlines have to get bailed out. The hotel industry. Let me say this about the hotel industry too. I know they're hurting right now, and I get it. A lot of people are. But just out of curiosity, I happened to see the CEO of Hilton on the news yesterday or the day before, basically, the poor, pitiful me, we're at less than 20% occupancy. We can't sustain this. We're going to go belly up. So out of curiosity, I went to hotels.com. And I just started searching random hotels. So this isn't necessarily just about Hilton, but it seems to me, if no one is staying in your hotel, I was expecting to see a bunch of low prices on hotel rooms, like way lower than normal. They're not. Everywhere I looked, the prices were the same as 3 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever. I don't understand that, and I've never really never really understood that about hotel rooms. It seems like it'd be better to have somebody in a room for $60 a night than it would to have nobody in there for $140 a night. You know what I mean? And they're on here on TV complaining about low occupancy. Well, you know, basic economics, so you start lowering the price a little bit. I mean, if it's less than 20% occupancy, that's terrible. But I don't know. I don't know.
I can't imagine that it would cost a hotel. I guess it would depend on the hotel, of course. I can't imagine it would cost a hotel much more than maybe $60, maybe perhaps per night to have a room occupied. I don't know. I mean,
I'm sure there is a bottom line price, like a break even price. Like, listen, if we can't sell this room for $30 a night, we'll lose money. I don't know what that price is. Maybe it's 60. I have no idea, but I don't know. It just,
I mean, you see tourist towns advertising rooms for like $25.99 in off season time.
Right.
So I mean, granted, I get it, it's off season, but still, electricity is pretty much the same year round, isn't it? I mean, depending on the year.
One could only assume.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just seems like. Well, let me just say this. I'm just glad this most recent bill that's, I guess, going to pass today in the House at least does something for most regular people. You know.
Let me ask your opinion on something.
This stuff. The corporate welfare in this country is out of control. You know, you see people complaining all the time about the single mom at Walmart who's on food stamps. Oh, get a better job, that kind of thing. I don't understand why more people don't have a problem with the corporate welfare system that we have in this country. It is just out of control. You know, people complaining about socialism this, socialism that. We've been socializing our big corporations in this country for decades. You know, how is it that me and you pay more federal income tax than Amazon? You know, I mean, this is Amazon paid zero in federal income tax the last 2 years total. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah, and you know the poor guys aren't making any money.
Right. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. The guy that owns Amazon. So,
let me get your opinion on something. So I watched a Eagle Speed video where he says that he believes that if you didn't vote for Trump, you shouldn't get this check.
What does the check have to do with Trump? Nothing.
This
bill was written in the Senate and passed. Now it's going to the House of Representatives. It's got nothing to do with Trump.
I know squat about politics and all that crap, but even I understand that.
If you're against socialism, you shouldn't get the check then. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's just insane. If you didn't vote for Trump, you shouldn't get the check. Trump
doesn't make a lot of sense.
Trump doesn't have anything to do. That doesn't make any sense at all. Trump didn't just sit down and go, "That's it, we're giving everybody money," and then sign a piece of paper and that was it. I mean,
it doesn't work that way.
No, this bill originated in the Senate. They passed it. Now it's going to the House. They'll pass it. Now Trump will have to sign the bill, just like he signs any bill that Congress makes. But if you didn't vote for Trump, you don't get your way. Eagle Speed's an idiot. He was
also bitching about the Democrats blocking it.
Listen, Eagle Speed is an 18-year-old who stocks shelves at Costco. No one is concerned with anything he's saying.
He might be a 19-year-old that stocks shelves at Costco now. That must be where he got that video about the toilet paper.
Yeah.
To think of it.
It is. He's an idiot, though, that Eagle Speed. He always has been. And it's good to see that hasn't changed. He's got a whole series of videos too about how terrible women are. And we know why he has such a problem with women. I mean,
He's never seen one up close.
he can't. Yeah, so but he's got a whole series of videos out this week too about how women shouldn't be able to vote, women shouldn't be able to be president. It's like, man, geez. And he's Mormon.
Nah, I actually did not know that.
Yeah, he's Mormon, so he's caveman as hell. Fire bad, water wet. That's about the extent of his knowledge. Fire bad, water wet. What an idiot.
Speaking of Mormons, I watched your video yesterday on the BYU caller. That was great.
The BYU caller.
Yeah, the guy that called in about it's one of the videos you on your other channel. It popped up in my feed somehow.
Okay.
I don't know how.
That's amazing.
You got upset over a Brigham Young caller, and I can't believe you don't remember it.
I've spent a lot of time getting upset about BYU on this channel.
It was a good one.
Yeah. BYU is a disgrace, BBD, which is, I still can't believe I made a hype and hate video for Tennessee against BYU and you guys shit the bed.
Yeah.
Man, that really hurt me. I can't stand BYU.
I'm not real fond of them either right about now. They played a hell of a 16 seconds, though. I guess that's all you got to do against Tennessee.
I reckon. What else are we doing today on the show? That's all I have.
We're, much as I hate to recommend it, we got some Chevy driver guy that wants to talk to us.
Oh, yeah. Let's add him in. What am I doing here? No one knows. Let's see if this will work. There's a chance that it will. Last night was the most peaceful nighttime show I've had in 2 months.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why.
It was pretty calm.
Yeah, good morning in that.
Yeah, let me add BBD back in that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Am I
go.
hang up on somebody? Is everybody there or?
I'm here.
Okay. Good.
BVD, I'm going to brand a Ford logo into your ass.
I just bought a Ford, so you can't be talking mess to me.
Oh, you did? What'd you get?
Explorer.
I had an Explorer. That's a great truck.
I've never had an Explorer. I had an Expedition.
You still
15
do?
years ago.
Don't you have one sitting in the driveway now?
No. That's an Edge.
Oh, that's an Edge.
Expedition is the big SUV.
No, I know. Expedition. I know the.
Yeah.
Well, it's not as big as the Excursion, but.
That Ford Edge in the driveway hasn't moved in probably a year. I used to crank it up once a week. There's no chance it'll crank. It probably won't even crank now.
Is an Excursion bigger than an Expedition?
Yes.
That's their biggest model.
Yeah.
Excursion was bigger than the Suburban.
I don't even think they make the Excursion anymore.
No, they stopped making that about 15 years ago. There's a high demand for them, though. Everyone wants them because they need the space, and they're a hell of a tow vehicle. It's basically an F-250 with a topper. Anyway, yeah. When I was there, the Edge had a flat tire.
Yeah, it still does. It hasn't moved in a year. I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. It hasn't moved in a year. When I bought that Mustang, because that was the car I drove before I had the Mustang. So when I bought that Mustang, No, I think I drove that car twice after I bought it. A couple of times I went to Lowe's or something, and I had to get, I forget even what it was, and I took that car. It's got a hatchback. I think I must have been getting some wood or anyway, whatever I was getting. I didn't want to put it in the Mustang, so I took that car and the seats fold down in the hatchback. So if you, I don't know if this is what I bought or not, but like in theory, if I needed to buy like 10-foot long 2x4s or something, you could do that in that Edge because you could lay the back seats down and then open up the hatchback and load the 2x4s in through the back, that kind of thing. So there was something I had to get from Lowe's a couple of times. So I did drive it a couple of times after I got the Mustang, and then after that I just cranked it up once a week or something to let it run for 20 minutes. But eventually I quit doing that. And then, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 months ago, I was like, oh, I haven't cranked that car up in a while. I went out there to crank it up. The battery was dead as hell. So it's literally been sitting there now for almost a year.
Yeah, you better be careful when you try and crank it the next time because all the oil's out of the motor.
You mentioned you mentioned getting some wood in that thing, Uncle Lou. You know, you're not nearly as old as I am, and certainly not as old as Celine Driver, but the older you get, you know, you tend to get less wood.
Yeah, I was going to make a joke about Lou getting wood, but I figured he's the host. I might as well let that one slide.
What is it with Ford and E's? Not Escalade, but Escape, Expedition, Explorer, Excursion.
That is a good question.
Escort?
I guess Escort.
Ford Escort, too?
Yeah, that was my first car was an Escort.
Yeah, I almost ended up with an Escort GT at one time, but sanity returned.
GT and Escort just doesn't even make sense.
That's too much of a. There has to be a reason behind that. That's too much of a coincidence to have 6 or 7 different models.
Well, all of their SUVs start with an E, I think.
Well, an Escort's not an SUV, but they've got some of. But that's a lot of cars to have to start with an E. There's got to be a reason behind that.
There is a reason for that. Well, it's more of a theory that a lot of Ford guys hold. It's that at one time the head of Ford was Edsel Ford, the son of Henry Ford, and he was the one that started with the E. The name beginning with E, because Edsel Ford had an ego the size of the Grand Canyon. So, and all the vans were Econoline, and then they became the E series vans.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And everything became an E because it was sort of unofficially decreed by Edsel Ford that everything should begin, or as many as possible, should begin with the letter E. And I think Iacocca was actually considered somewhat of a maverick when he came out with the idea for the Mustang and to call it a Mustang instead of something that began with an E, or in the case of the Falcon, an F, because remember the Mustang was based off of the Falcon chassis. So having an M car in Mustang, that was considered radical inside the corporate hallways. He went against Edsel. Oh my God, There's a reason that people say it's an Edsel, but it's describing something crappy.
Interesting.
Well, I thought to throw that out there.
Not as interesting as the fact that 2 people have chosen to support the show so far this morning, BVD. Big shout out to Chris C. Thank you, sir. He says, any chance that we could see a stream NCAA 14 on the Xbox with Lou and Bad Dog commenting together?
Oh, there's an idea.
I don't know if that would work because I have a feeling that me and Bad Dog are both play-by-play guys, and neither one of us are the color guys.
There's where you need me for the color.
You can't have 2. Anyway, I don't know if that would work, but it would be interesting we could stream Georgia versus Oklahoma, and he's an Oklahoma fan. That would be interesting. And Tiger Cat, shout out to you this morning. Thank you for supporting the show this morning. Hope you're doing well. She says a little something for my 2 favorite YouTubers, the Dynamic Duo, just because I hope y'all are staying safe and healthy. Hugs, kisses, and purrs from the Tiger Cat. Go Tigers.
I'm just gonna say it, even though she probably wouldn't want me to, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Happy birthday to Tiger Cat tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
What are you doing? What are you doing helping us out? We should be helping you out.
Oh, that's cool. Happy birthday, Tiger Cat. Appreciate it.
Happy
Appreciate you
early
out there.
birthday. Probably turning 21 again.
Yeah,
And she's a little older than that. She's going to be 29 again.
She looks pretty young.
Oh, okay. Good. 29. 29 was a good age. I mean, I hardly remember it, but I have a feeling it was a good age.
Yeah, she looks good to me. But I'm thirsty, so. Got him.
Well, at least you admitted it, I guess.
I can admit a lot of things about myself, Lou. I don't have any ego to bruise anymore. I'm too damn old and too damn tired.
Hell, I understand. What's the latest on the? Listen, the coronavirus is out of control. Okay, it just is.
Oh, I was going to speak on something about you were talking about earlier, but go ahead and finish your thought.
The coronavirus is completely out of control. Now, we did the numbers yesterday, and it was alarming. But this is just. I hope I can find this same site I found this morning, but where is this? Let me. I think it's this one. Listen, but just this is crazy. Today is March 27th. Okay. 1 week ago was March 20th. See how I did that there? 7 days ago.
Yeah.
Now I know they're testing more and all that, and that has a lot to do with it. But just 7 days ago, there was 18,000 cases of coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Today, 80,000, over 80,000. This is insane.
No.
Yes.
Not necessarily insane.
No, this is insane.
But you just said that they're testing more. Of course, when you test more, you're going to find more cases.
My God. I mean, it's getting rough out there.
Breathe through it.
This is getting bad.
Yeah, it is getting bad, and it's going to get bad. And anyone who doesn't believe that is a fool. But you're going to find more people when you test more. People got to keep that in mind, even though the numbers are they're hockey sticking, as they say out on the media, the hockey stick and all that. Of course, you're going to find more when you look for more. I mean, if you're looking for something intentionally, you're going to find it. But it doesn't mean that the world is coming to an end. It means that we're testing more, we're finding more people, and then they're getting the treatment that they need, hopefully. And but you notice that even though we're finding more people, the death rate is holding steady.
Listen, you can spin it any way you want.
I'm not spinning it.
Here's the curve,
I know the
though.
numbers.
Hey, listen. All I know is all this. We need to flatten the curve type talk. This curve is becoming flat. If you consider up and down, straight up and down to be flat, this is insane.
No,
this is insane.
It is. It looks bad. It does. I'm just hoping that when that number hits its peak, it doesn't do a U shape. It does a V shape. That's what they mean by flatten the curve. It drops quick.
I hear you. Now, I will concede your point about more testing. It means more positive cases. More testing does not mean more people die, though.
No,
the curve looks exactly the same when you look at the deaths. I don't know what you were talking about. I guess the death rate's remaining the same. Again, if straight up and down is considered the same. But a week ago, March 20th, we had 255 people dead from this thing. Today, 1,200. So it has gone up 6 times in a week. If it goes up 6 times in another week, what's that mean? We'll be at whatever we'll be at. We'll be at 30,000 something people.
Ooh, jeez, that sounded bad.
I mean,
well,
this is alarming.
It is alarming. I'm not going to minimize it. It's alarming. It is, and
I'm going to sound the alarm.
That's
More cowbell. More cowbell.
I'm going inside. I'm going inside. I can't be out here.
Oh,
Don't do that. Don't do that. That means I got to talk to Celine Driver.
I can't. I can't anymore. Enough with this. Have a good morning.
He turned his mic off.
He's going to yell at the neighbor.
No, he's going to go take a leak is what he's going to do. Come on, man.
Lord.
I mean, that's his euphemism for taking a leak is get more coffee. I mean, come on, man. We all know that. But
Did he even mention getting more coffee?
No, he's going to go and take a leak. I mean, no, it's not stupid.
He probably just stepped out of the view of the camera and just standing there.
He might be, but, I've been in that garage. It's pretty damn small. I mean, the door is practically like 6 feet away from that chair, so he didn't go far. Hope it's not cold in there. Gee.
Doubtful. It's pretty warm where I'm at.
It's pretty warm where I'm at. We're almost touching 90 now down here.
Jesus.
But
really?
actually, you guys were talking about the hotel industry and that, and somebody who lives in a resort town. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there you go. There we go.
All right.
But
good.
yesterday I was getting dinner for me and my daughter, and the place that I got dinner from is in fact literally right next door to a good-sized Hampton Inn, like a 5-6 story Hampton Inn, and that parking lot literally had 3 cars in it. I mean, that's not going to work, Lou. That's not going to work. And I drive around my town, which is west coast of Florida, beach town, and there's no traffic. There are no out-of-state or, in the case of Canadian, out-of-country plates. And the hotel parking lots are empty. I mean, and we're due, at this point in time, we're due for an influx of the Europeans coming in. That traditionally, April and so on, and so going forward for a little while when the European tourists come in. And I tell you that a lot of people in this city of mine are scared poopless that these hotels are empty. They've still got to keep the buildings running. They got to keep the AC going. They got to keep the lights on. They got to keep the ice makers running, and there's nobody in them. And they're dropping rates like crazy. They're offering free shuttle services here and there, and doing everything they can. And there's no cars in the parking lot, even the ones near the interstate. That generally will get interstate. People getting off the interstate for the evening traffic. They're empty. And I don't know that these folks will necessarily get bailouts from this bill that hopefully will pass, although I don't like big parts of it.
Let me ask a question about these bailouts. We've been hearing since the beginning that the cruise line was one of these companies that was going to get this, and my thought initially was, I get that makes sense, but there's something I didn't think about until I heard someone ask President Trump about it yesterday during his press conference. None of these cruise companies are American companies. They all hide off seas for tax purposes so that they don't have to pay taxes. Now they want American tax dollars. I'm 100% against that. These boats can go belly up. They can Titanic themselves. They didn't want to register here. All these ships are registered in another country, so they don't have to pay taxes here. Plus, have you ever been on a cruise ship? There ain't that many Americans working on them. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. Now, I get that. I get that at the ports of call in the U.S., Miami, Jacksonville, Mobile, wherever. I get that at the ports of call in and around the port area. There's a ton of Americans who have jobs tied to that cruise industry. But the cruise lines themselves are not American businesses. and I don't think should be given any American dollars, especially billions in bailouts. Why? So they can continue to tax shelter offshore? No, that's ridiculous there.
No, no. I'll go you one better, Lou. When you were talking earlier about corporate welfare to me is one of the most offensive things in government policy. It is not the role of any government, unless you're a socialist, a liberal mixed socialist government like a European example. But in America, the federal government should have no business propping up a corporate entity. I remember when during the Obama administration, when they bought out GM and Chrysler, I was offended, and I'm offended now with the Trump administration doing exactly what you're talking about. A lot of these corporations have their corporate headquarters are overseas. In the case of these cruise liners, almost to a ship, all of them are registered in the Bahamas or Liberia,
Yeah.
or the Caymans or wherever, anywhere but there hasn't been a United States flagged cruise ship since I think the SS United States.
Yeah, since the SS Minnow. But and do
Yeah.
you know why they don't? You know why there's no Americans working on that boat?
Yeah, they cost too much.
Yeah, they're paying these people like $30 a week. And if you
Yeah.
ever been on a cruise, those people work like dogs.
I've been on 2 cruises. They work great.
They work nonstop for their
they're
$25 a
all-
week.
Oh, I guarantee you're absolutely right. And the federal government has no business doing what they're doing in this bill or in general with. I mean, what they should be doing if the cruise industry is so worried about their ships sitting there with no passengers on them, they should be saying, okay, U.S. government, you can have the ships and convert them into hospitals and use them, and you can pay us rent on the ships. If
Right.
you want to give us money, we will give you the ships. That should have been in the bill. You're going to give us billions. Okay, great. We'll take the bill. The federal government should say, okay, we'll give you money to keep your ships afloat. No pun intended. But you're going to give us those ships and use them as hospitals, use them as dormitories. You're going to give us your staff, and you're going to cook for these people, and you're going to feed them, and you're going to make them comfortable, and so on and so forth. You're going to give us something for the money that our taxpayers are giving you to keep your ships from going into bankruptcy. And they didn't do that. It's absolute bullspit. And I'm pissed off about it. Just like I'm pissed off about, like $35 million to the Kennedy Center. Come on, man. That's got nothing to do with keeping American workers and American small business afloat. And, as a conservative, I'm offended by the vast majority of this bill. I mean,
well, me and you have talked about this before. There is no such thing politically anymore as a financial conservative. They don't exist.
Yeah, that's true.
At least in office. I know you're a financial conservative, like that's your political leanings because you've made that clear. But like the idea that the Republican Party is financially conservative, which it used to be, that's out the window. Both the Republicans and the Democrats both spend like drunk sailors. The only difference is what the parties want to spend the money on. That's the only difference.
Absolutely correct.
I mean, it's not an accident. The U.S. is the most in debt country in the world, and it's not close. That didn't happen by accident. I mean, there's been plenty of Republican administrations and plenty of Democratic administrations, and the debt increases every single time. I mean, these guys they have no financial responsibility at all.
The Republican Party hasn't been financially conservative since about the time you were born, probably a little earlier than that. I mean, certainly I can make the argument that the Republican Party lost its financial conservative bona fides in the Nixon administration, because Nixon was the one that expanded the welfare state that really began under Johnson. And I don't think you want to drill down that rabbit hole too deep. But as far as the Republican Party and their financial conservatism goes, that was shot to hell during the Nixon administration, the second term mostly. And there hasn't been a financially conservative. Well, you could argue that Reagan was probably the most financially conservative post-Nixon president that we've ever had. But you're right. I mean, the
I would
national debt
argue. I would argue that
is
Bill Clinton's it has been the most conservative, financially conservative
that was
president in my
because he had a
lifetime.
Republican Congress against him more than anything else. But he did slow spending down quite a bit.
Well,
But
he was the only president in my lifetime to have a balanced budget, and the only
that's
president
true.
in my lifetime to leave office with a surplus, which
Yeah, and
George
then
Bush
W shot it
immediately
all to
ate
hell.
up with his pet wars in Iraq and everywhere else. But anyway, I don't want to get into all that. That's old.
No,
That's old.
but you're not wrong.
Um,
You're not wrong, Blue.
And
You
your
know,
thing about the biggest, the thing that this always gets me, and I'm just going to admit straight up, I still shop at Walmart, okay? Just like I don't think it's fair that Amazon doesn't pay federal taxes, I still shop at Amazon. It's not like this stuff, this isn't me pretending to boycott or anything, but this whole thing that Walmart has set up here where they hire 50 employees part-time instead of 30 employees full-time, you know?
right.
And then almost all of those 50 part-time employees that they hire then go on food stamps and whatever else, rent assistance or whatever help they might get out. And then Walmart turns around on the back end and gets tax incentives for hiring and employing people who are on government assistance. So they're taking it from both ends. So the American taxpayer is offsetting the payroll cost of the world's largest employer. Why?
Because
Pay
that's
the people.
way,
I mean, that's just insane. They have record profits every single year while they pay their employees such a low wage that they qualify for food stamps and rent assistance. And then they turn around and get tax breaks on the back end for hiring welfare recipients. It's just insane.
Well, I'll even throw another little bone into your stew pot there for you, Lou. You know, everyone is complaining and talking about corporate taxes this, corporate taxes that. You know, if you think about it for a minute, and if the economic education in this country were even 10% better than it is now, people would realize this. Corporations don't pay taxes. You know, you charge a corporation taxes, all they're going to do is raise prices on their goods or services so that the corporate tax is offset by the cost of that good or service. So in the end, the end user, the consumer, whatever you want to call him or her, is paying that tax rate. The corporations don't pay taxes. It's a fact of economic life. And if people understood that, they would understand charging a corporation more in taxes, all that's going to do is either raise prices on the good or service that they're producing, or it's going to, like it did before Trump came in, and drive their headquarters offshore. I mean, for a while, did you ever notice that for a while, a lot of corporations were headquartering in Ireland? It's because the Irish government created a tax haven type system.
Yeah.
That's long ago since
I hear this
stopped,
argument all the time. Well, you can't tax businesses; they're just going to pass the cost on to the consumer. Great.
Right.
So, but then they say we need to lower taxes so that they can pass the savings on it, and that doesn't happen.
No,
These
it doesn't.
huge tax cuts that we did 2 years ago, great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Great idea. Let's cut all these taxes. Instead of the businesses paying 25% taxes, let's make them pay none, basically. They then will lower the price of everything. They'll hire more people. They'll increase their wages. And what happened? The companies took all that money and bought their own stock. That's what they did. They took that money and they bought their own stock, artificially inflating the value of their company, artificially inflating the value of their stock, triggering bonuses for themselves based off of increased stock price. Now, those same companies that had all those billions of dollars extra, What shape are they in now? They can't keep the lights on. They need Uncle Sam, me, the taxpayer, to come and bail them out, because instead of, what are we told all the time? Save for a rainy day, have 6 months savings in the bank, you never know what's going to happen. Businesses are not held to the same standard. They had billions in extra revenue over the last couple of years. The economy is the best it's ever been. They were paying no taxes, and as soon as the shit hits the fan, they don't have $1 left. So, that's why I'm not for cutting taxes on all these businesses, because they do not pass the savings on to you and me. They do not. Now, if we increase their taxes, will the price of goods go up some? I don't know. But here's what I know. If we reduce the taxes, they're not lowering. It's not benefiting me or you. They proved it over the last couple of years. They blew that money. They wasted that money. Now here we are. They can't survive 3 weeks. 3 weeks they can't survive. We've been dealing with this for 3 weeks, and they can't survive after the billions that we gave them over the last couple of years. It's insane. If me or you did that as an individual, we'd be called irresponsible and thrown out on the street.
Absolutely. Hey, Lou?
What?
Comment section is really angry at both of us right now.
I don't care. I'm angry. I'm angry!
I can hear that. But, Lou, I don't disagree with you. I think that that tax cut.
Jeff, if you don't come here for what you're listening to right now, then log off and come back tomorrow, buddy. I can't tailor this show around what every single individual might want to hear on one particular second or another. I just can't do that, Breaking news. Every time I talk about South Carolina, you know what the Gamecock fan says? I wish he'd stop talking about South Carolina. Okay, I'll stop talking about South Carolina. Guess what every Florida fan says when I start talking about, I wish he'd stop talking about Florida. Okay, fine, I'll start talking about Florida. Listen, let's pretend the biggest story in the world doesn't exist.
I wish that tax cut provision had a tax cut had a provision in it where they weren't going to allow the corporations to buy their own stock back, because you're absolutely
right. If anything
right.
I've said hurts anybody's feelings, then you got to be the biggest snowflake on planet Earth. I haven't said one bad word about any politician or political party. Nothing. I haven't expressed my views one way or the other on Trump or Nancy Pelosi or anybody. I'm just purely talking about general political philosophies. So if that hurts your feelings, log off and come back on Monday.
No, they're not butt hurting or anything. They're just bored. I love it, Lou. This is in my wheelhouse. This is what this is the stuff I love. But I was just pointing it out to you. That's all. I just
damn, Christ's sake, God forbid you hear something somewhere that you don't agree with.
Nah, that wasn't good.
BVD, wake up, man. What are you doing?
Who?
BVD fell asleep.
No, he's in the comment section.
I'm here.
He's keeping the comment section engaged, or engaging with the comment section. But come on, BVD, say something.
I don't have a clue what y'all are talking about.
What we're talking about is shit that's that actually has effect on people.
No, I get that. I just don't keep up with all that shit. I leave that for people that's in their what's the
wheelhouse.
saying? No, not wheelhouse. It's out of my pay grade, so to speak.
Oh. Yeah, that's the problem, though. A lot of people say that, and then these polls on both sides manage to slip shit, out there. Well, actually, they're not even hiding it anymore. They're just saying, okay, we're going to do this, and we know that 90% of you don't have clue one what we're doing, and you don't care anyway. Bread and circuses, just as long as the bread and circuses are there, and you get your $1,200 check, which, by the way, is probably in the long run almost worthless. Oh, and also, by the way, it's probably going to be considered income for your 2020 income taxes, and come 2021, the IRS is going to come around with a handout saying, "Oh, remember that stimulus check you got back in April of 2020? Yeah, you owe taxes on that."
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to
And
handle that because now they're saying it's not taxable, and it's actually in the bill that it's not taxable. But the problem is they said that in 08, 09, whatever it was, and then
yeah, and I
and
pay
everyone got
taxes
taxed on
that.
it the following year anyway. So
Yeah, I pay
who knows?
taxes on that $600 check. I remember it.
But let's be real. Most of the people who are going to get that $1,200 check pay what 15% maybe federal income tax. So they're going to lose 100. You know, they'll end up paying in an extra $150 over the course of the year in taxes to offset the $1,200 they were given. They're still coming out way ahead.
You know, Lou, I would be, I don't know if you actually go through with it, but I would be interested if you had a little time to check out something called the fair tax. It's been around for a while. It's basically
I'm the world's
tax.
biggest fan. I read the book when it came out 20 years ago. I'm the world's
I
biggest
did
fan
too.
of the fair tax, but it'll never happen. It will never
Well,
happen.
that's what I wanted to know, what your opinion was on that, because
I'm
I
a
think
huge fan.
that is a brilliant idea.
Listen, every black market industry would immediately become taxed in this country. Immediately.
Exactly.
Every
exactly.
prostitute would pay tax. Every drug dealer would
Exactly.
pay tax. Every illegal arms, whatever, you name it. All the underground money would immediately become taxed. Immediately. You could do your taxes every year on the back of a napkin.
Lou,
It just makes too much sense. It'll never happen.
1,000%.
The IRS tax code is like 50,000 pages long.
Yep.
It's insane. So yeah, the fair tax is amazing, and because it's so amazing that it'll never happen here because you know
right.
you got too many people that don't want to see it go that way.
You know who has that version of tax out there of all the places in the world? You know who's using that tax right now?
Who?
Russia.
Oh, I didn't know that. I had no idea.
Yeah, Russia uses a version of the fair tax. They use a consumption tax, and so do some of the old Russian territories, like the what they call them, the Benelux countries.
Yeah.
No, not the Benelux. Lithuania, Estonia, and the third one. I forgot the third one. They're using.
What's that called again?
No,
What's
I
it
was
called
wrong.
again?
The fair tax.
Fair tax. It's a flat. It's a national sales tax. Basically, is what it is. It's a flat sales
Yeah,
tax.
it like Lou said, everyone, not everyone right now pays income taxes because hell, the bottom 50% of income earners in this country pay no tax. But all those people in that bottom 50% that are paying income tax, they're spending. They're buying
Right.
stuff. I mean, maybe you exempt. I mean, the idea is to exempt necessities like food and things like that. But they buy cars. They buy, they buy knives. They buy bed sheets. They buy, waste baskets at Walmart.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm a fan of a progressive tax rate. So, like, the fair tax is progressive in that the more you spend, the more you pay in taxes. You go out and buy a Lamborghini, great, you're going to pay 15% tax. You go out and buy a $25,000 whatever, you're still going to pay 15%. Of course, 15% of 25,000 is way less than 15% of 3 million or 300,000. So, but everyone pays the same rate. It would be it would be amazing, but it'll never happen. It makes way too much sense for us to do that here. Things that make sense tend not to happen.
Yeah, but you know what, Lou? My respect for you just went up and meant a lot because of that. Not that I had anything but respect to begin with. The fact that you can see that most people can't, unfortunately.
And the book is if you're at all interested in this, you should read the book, The Fair Tax. But
it's very short,
and it goes into all the nuances and the details that clearly we can't get into here. But if you buy a used car, you get a break versus buying a new car. Like certain items are only taxed one time. Like new houses, you buy a new house, you pay 15% tax on it. It's a lot of money. But if someone's lived in that house before, you don't pay that. Same thing with cars and boats and all that kind of stuff. So, if you're a gazillionaire, you want to go out and buy a brand new, $5 million yacht, fine. You're going to pay 15% taxes. If you're only a millionaire and you want to buy a used yacht, well, you get a little bit of a break.
Waikiki wants us to talk about religion next. No thanks. No, thank you, bro. But thank you for participating.
Don't tempt me with a good time. But no,
I just don't like the bill that is about to be signed, but it's going to be signed, and I guess that's the reality of the situation. I guess we'll just deal with the fallout as it happens. There's nothing more to be said. I mean, you and I and BVD and all the guys in the chat, we're the pawns in this game, and we got to take it. I don't like it. I've made that very clear on every media platform I can say so, but like BVD just said, it's above my pay grade.
Yeah, I mean, I only have I think I mentioned this the other day. When it comes to economics in general, I have a basic understanding at best of it. Overall,
I have a good understanding, but I wish it was better.
I took 2 economics classes in college, micro and macro 101 or whatever it is.
I probably took the
foreign
same
language.
Courses.
It was like a foreign language to me. That and accounting. I took accounting too.
No, I didn't
foreign
take accounting.
language.
I took a lot of economic and business classes, and I tried to learn all I could, and I try to read what I can on it. But it's like you said, it's a foreign language. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Somebody used the term the other day, derivative. The derivatives are going to get us. I said, what the hell is a derivative?
Yeah, I remember like 07, 08, 09 when with the banking crisis and all that, and I would watch the news at night trying to get some sort of understanding, and they would use terms like that, derivatives and all this kind, and I'm just like, and like the bank, when you bought your house, you had your mortgage with a certain bank, but then they would turn around and sell half of your mortgage to 3 other banks, and they were trying to explain why they had to give all the banks all this money, and I'm just like, what? I'm so like, the more I listened, the more confused I got, and I was like, I give up.
You know what the sad part of that whole thing is to me? The sad part of that whole, all the junk bonds and the junk mortgages and the no doc and mortgages, everything. Nobody got thrown in front of a judge. Nobody got convicted. Nobody got indicted by a grand jury. Nobody spent jail time. Okay, yeah, 1 or 2 financial institutions went out of business, but you know what? The people that were in them were immediately snapped up by other financial institutions, and in the end, nothing changed. Nobody went to jail. Nobody got punished.
And if you really want to,
essentially was criminal activity.
If you really want to make yourself mad, HBO did a documentary about that 2 or 3 year period of time. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I can't now.
I heard about it, but I haven't had HBO in a long time, so.
It does a fairly good job of explaining some of the things that happened on a level where at least most people can understand it a little bit more. And what will really irritate you when you watch that thing, there was 8 or 9 people who basically met in a room in New York City every day during that financial crisis that made every decision that was implemented, and it was Ben Bernanke, the Fed chairman at the time, and the heads of the 8 biggest banks and insurance companies in New York, and they would meet in a room every day in New York. They then would call, Ben Bernanke would then call the administration, at first Bush and then Obama, and they would enact and implement everything that the bank people said needed to happen to get out of that mess, when it was those same bank and insurance people that got us into the mess to start with. It'll burn you up. It'll make you so.
And
it'll make you so. You talk about the swamp and drain the swamp, and that term that has been around the last few years. those were some serious swamp rats there. So the same people that created the problem then created the solution. And now who do you think that solution benefited? Them. That's who. I mean, it was just insane.
You know, and the funny part, well, not funny, but the tragic part is a lot of the cure, quote unquote, cure for all that happened in 08, 09. Pardon me. The cure is as bad as the disease was. I mean, somebody who just pointed that out. Dodd-Frank was supposedly a cure. I think it was Jeff said that. Dodd-Frank was and is a disaster. The bailouts were a disaster. The fact that 2 of our 3 automakers are now partially or wholly government owned was a disaster. I mean, government is too big, too slow, too cumbersome, and too power hungry to be the solution to these kind of problems.
That was the name of the documentary, Too Big to Fail. So if anybody is interested, which let's be real,
like the right title.
But that was the name of it, Too Big to Fail.
Government doesn't have this kind of role. Government was designed by the founders. Our government was designed by the founders to be purposefully slow and deliberate and not having the ability to act quickly. We do not have a king.
Yeah, well,
that can decree from on high. We have a legislature full of people with their own individual points of view and agendas, and by definition, those bodies take time to act.
Well, we need 12-year term limits immediately for both the House and the Senate. But
I never understood why
speaking of cause and effect and problems and cures, and sometimes they're the same thing or whatever. It is funny. It is a little. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a little bit funny to me. That if you've been following politics at all over the last year, you've heard a lot about socialism and how terrible it is and how it's the end of the world and it's the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And when capitalism falls on its face, what's there to save it? Socialism on the grandest scale we have ever seen in the history of planet Earth. To the tune already they have spent $4 trillion worth of socialism to bail us out of this capitalistic mess that we're in. That is a little bit ironic to me.
Here's the thing, Lou. I mean, and I go back to my earlier statement about the American people are not well educated in economics and economic theory and so on. The country has had elements of socialism, big elements of socialism in America since the 30s.
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is go back to Delano FDR and his machinations and so on, and then Johnson and his machinations, and then Nixon, and then everyone building on top of all that. This country hasn't been a pure capitalist system, so I would argue, and there's no such thing as a pure anything, but this country hasn't had a majority capitalist system in here since, I mean, you could argue the 30s. Hell, I could even argue World War I and Woodrow Wilson, that racist progressive lunatic. If anyone cares to read a little bit of history, you would know that for damn near 100 years, this country has been experimenting and implementing elements of socialism into it. You know, and I have to laugh when people say socialism, but I actually agree that a Venezuelan type, Cuban type socialist Marxist system would be a poison to this country.
Well, everyone agrees with that. Everyone agrees with that. But like you said, the word has been perverted. So now, you know, someone on a certain side of the aisle comes out with a policy that has socialistic tendencies, and all of a sudden they're a socialist who wants to turn America into Venezuela. And like you said, nobody wants that. Bernie Sanders doesn't even want that, and he's the closest thing we have, and he doesn't.
I don't know.
He doesn't even.
But...
What? Well, I mean, you only can take him at his word. I mean, I
Well,
think everyone
I
agrees
think
with no
Bernie
one
is
wants that.
crazy, but
So,
I think Bernie Sanders is crazy, but
well, I think
he's
almost
out of
every
the picture
politician
now
is
anyway.
crazy. I mean, that's I'm just a pessimist. I don't trust any politician. Period. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. I don't trust them. I don't trust any of them. People think I'm just some kind of liberal
No,
lunatic. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I voted for the first. Here's my presidential voting history: Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, and then I wrote in John Kasich in 2016. That's my voting history. So I voted for 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats for president. I don't care Republican or Democrat. They're all garbage the minute they take the oath of office as far as I'm concerned. I believe in
you know,
holding politicians accountable, holding their feet to the fire, that kind of thing. There is not a single politician on planet Earth that I'm a fan of, not one. And that's what's so hard for me to understand with the Trump phenomena. I have never in my life, outside of a cult setting, seen anything close to what I see from some people and their complete adoration of President Trump. I don't get it. The whole he can do no wrong thing is foreign to me when it comes
no,
to
that ain't me.
politics.
Trump was never my. Trump is not was not back in 16. Trump was not my choice. In the general election, I did vote for Trump. I will admit that publicly. I think I did back in 16 anyway.
A
But
lot of people
I will
voted for
admit
Trump just
publicly,
because they were so against Hillary, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was against
yeah,
Hillary and Trump, so I exercised my constitutional right and wrote a name in. So now
I don't
I
blame
know
you
that
for
was
that.
quote unquote a wasted vote or whatever you want to call it, but I don't think any vote is a wasted vote. You should vote for whoever you want to, not who you think is going to win. At least that's my opinion. So I wrote in John Kasich, who was a Republican. So
barely. But I remember back in
who's
my
more
whole.
Republican, Trump or Kasich?
That's
So come
tough.
on with the barely thing. Trump was a Democrat until 4 years ago. So come on.
Well, mm, I mean, I've sort of put them both on the same plane. Myself, I put them about equal. I mean, my guy in 2016 in the primary was, and you're going to laugh at me, I bet, was Ted Cruz. I feel that Ted Cruz is more of a constitutionalist
Oh, no
than
doubt about
anyone
it.
in the
Yeah,
field.
he's a strict constitutionalist for sure.
Yeah,
I wasn't a fan
and
of
I
Ted
want
Cruz,
that.
but you're 100% right there. He's a strict constitutionalist.
Now, back in the day, and I'm going to say this phrase again. Back in the day, literally before you were born, um, because I think about 15 years older than you. 14 anyway. Back when in that day, I used to believe in at least one side of the political spectrum was better than the other. And as I grew older, I got more education, I got more knowledge, I got more experience. I began to realize that they're both sides are pretty bad. But it was only within the past 10 years that I got to the realization that they're both equally bad. And like you said, I mean, both left and right have spent this country into oblivion. I mean, what are we at, about $220 trillion in debt and unfunded mandates? Now, I mean, they both spend at a rate that would offend drunken sailors. There's no as far as I can see, there's no solution to this problem other than printing $1 million notes and driving the inflation rate to 400% and becoming Zimbabwe. Both sides are equally bad in my eyes at this point. And right now, it's just, for me, it's mitigating the damage and trying to hold on to what few freedoms we have left. And that's why I continue to, in the elections, I generally continue to vote Republican. But I have to admit, when I lived in Georgia, and I did live in Georgia for 10 years, and one of my senators in Georgia was a guy named Zell Miller, who was a Democrat.
Yep.
I voted for him twice because I felt that he was a better choice than the Republican, alternative. And for one thing, I thought Zell Miller was a funny guy, a great sense of humor, and more of a person than the other guy. But he was actually a very rare thing at the time, which was a conservative Democrat, a Dixiecrat, if you will, or a Bulldog Democrat, they called him. But my voting record for the presidency has been from 84 onward has been straight Republican. And a couple of times I had to hold my nose to do it. And voting for Trump in 2016 was one of those times, because I maintain today that Hillary was more dangerous than Trump. This time around, our choice is Trump or Biden, it looks like. And to me, that's not a choice.
Yeah. Waikiki, I tell you what, I will answer both of those questions. But it's going to be at the very end of the show. It'll literally be the last thing I say, and then I'll end the show.
What was the question?
He says, how about ideas for less offensive topics? Abortion, good or bad? Marriage equality, good or bad? I'll answer both of those, but it's literally going to be the last thing I say. So, let's wrap this up.
If I answered both of those questions, I bet I'd surprise the hell out of both of you.
Yeah, and I'm going to answer them both in under 5 seconds. So, Celine Driver, I'm going to let you go and wrap the show up. I should let BVD go.
I'm still here.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, Lou. I always enjoy these things. I enjoyed this discussion. I think I learned a lot. I hope I didn't offend anybody. I hope I didn't offend you. I hope I didn't offend BVD.
I'll tell you, my only issue when it comes to politics is that people tend to, the idea that, and not everyone has this idea, but more and more people are starting to have it. And I think this is actually dangerous as a society. But if you don't agree with me politically, you're a bad person and I don't like you anymore. I mean, you got families that won't speak to each other nowadays. And I think that's dangerous. And I can tell you right now, if everyone in the comment section disagrees with everything I said today, I still feel the same way about you as I did before. I don't judge anybody based off of their political views. I just don't. It's not that serious.
That's the primary reason I don't.
None of us in here are politicians. And it doesn't make me mad if you love Trump or hate Trump. It doesn't make me mad if you're conservative. It doesn't make me mad if you're liberal. It doesn't make me mad if you think Bernie Sanders is a socialist, communist, Nazi pig. Doesn't make me mad if you think Bernie Sanders is the savior. None of your political views make me mad. You can agree, disagree, or whatever. I don't judge somebody based off of that, and I just see too much of that going on, which is why I don't talk about politics generally on this channel, because I've said this before and it's true. I can trash somebody's team for an hour straight. They'll come back tomorrow for another helping. I can make one political comment as a joke and watch my subscriber numbers go down. So that's why I tend to avoid it. But Celine Driver, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for coming on this morning. We'll do it again.
Thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.
Yep, we'll do it again for sure. Big shout out.
Good listening to you this morning, Celine.
BVD, thanks for doing whatever it is you did this morning.
I kept the comments.
You did great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that was. We won't do that again for us. It's been a long time since we had a discussion like that on here. Probably a couple of years for the reasons that I just mentioned. But that was probably the worst thing I could have done on a new channel where I really, really need to get to 1,000 subscribers. I probably have less subscribers now than I did when this show started. But what are you gonna do? Any last words, BVD?
No, you know the drill. Come on over tonight. Appreciate all you guys for your tuning in, for your listening, for everything you guys do for Lou and myself, for the PayPal, for the super chats, just everything you guys do. You're all phenomenal people, and I love every one of you except for Glitter Gator. Glitter Gator, you can fuck off, and that's a personal thing. I don't even think he's here this morning.
Yeah. All right, BVD. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. I will answer those two questions at the end, but like I said, it's literally going to be the last thing I say. We'll end it. Which one should we do first? Well, first of all, a big shout out to everybody for tuning in this morning. I hope nobody got upset or got their feelings hurt. It is what it is. I love all you guys. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what your political views are. It doesn't change the way I feel about you one way or the other. So hopefully nobody got so mad that they permanently left the channel. I'm sure a lot of people probably logged off or tuned out just because they're not interested in politics, and that's fine. But I really hope you're not. I really hope you're not the type of person that would get so mad at someone's political views that you wouldn't want to watch their football videos. I think that's a big problem in our society today, that people just take it a little bit too seriously. But anyway, so big shout out to everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Marriage equality, gay, straight, whatever. I believe everyone has a right to a lifetime of misery. So I'm all for marriage between two consenting adults. Okay, that period. As far as abortions go, listen to me. There's limited resources here. Okay, there's only so much of everything. All right, and look around you. Remember what George Carlin said. Think about how stupid the average person is, and then realize that half the population is stupider than that. We need more, not less. Have a good morning.